Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, as always, let's start with a question. Today's guest surveyed over 450 logistics and supply chain professionals globally between March and April 2024 for a brand new report. But what percentage of respondents expressed a desire to streamline operations across regions through integration and standardization of their technology stacks into a unified system? I would have thought this would be a pretty high number. It's something we talk a lot about on the show, but what do you think? Let me know your guesses over on social and keep listening because I'll let you know at the end of the show. So, today I'm joined by a company that believes excellence in container drayage starts with the right software. They're a part of the leading global supply chain cloud-based software that is a very good friend of the show. So, who's joining me today? Well, it's CargoWise Landside. So, CargoWise Landside's suite of logistics solutions are built to power the movement of containers by road, rail, and container exchange, ushering in a new era of container efficiency. Landside is designed to streamline your drayage operations from order to intake to billing for maximum efficiency and success, all on one powerful platform. And it's Tom Burke, Portfolio Product Manager at CargoWise Landside, that is joining me today for the show. Now, Tom is a seasoned executive, technology innovator, and entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience in transportation and logistics. And in 2012, he founded a number of companies, including DrayMaster, which were ultimately acquired by the owners of CargoWise, WiseTech Global. So he brings a lot of experience to the conversation today. And what we're going to be talking about now, Tom is going to be telling me all about how drayage rating and quoting best practices can improve supply chain management, visibility, logistics execution. We'll be diving into the three big current market trends impacting the industry right now, the challenges they're presenting for operators, why digitalization is no longer a nice to have, and how DrayMaster is bringing truckers and 3PLs together to mitigate risks and capitalize on opportunities. So, welcome to the show, Tom.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm just going to say, I'm really thrilled to actually get to meet you, Sarah. I've heard your podcasts and seen you many times, and it's nice to finally meet you. And I'm excited to have this conversation with you today.
Me too. Thank you so much. I am happy to have you here. Now, Let's Talk Supply Chain has been collaborating with CargoWise for several years now. We've put out a lot of great content, including an episode all about the company you founded, DrayMaster, and it's episode 379 if people want to go and check that out. So I'm excited to talk to you today, dive a little bit deeper into improving supply chain management, visibility, logistics, execution, because we all want that, right? So let's start with an introduction. Can you tell us who you are, what you do, and an overview of CargoWise Landside specifically?
Yeah, I sure can. So I've really been so fortunate to have built a career that touches really every aspect of intermodal and drayage. And I feel like I've had a driver's seat view as this industry has slowly evolved over the past 40 years. And my career has really encompassed nearly every aspect of the transportation and logistics industry. I've owned a company that provided turnkey intermodal terminal operations for a major Class 1 railroad, managed businesses specializing in container, chassis, and trailer repair and maintenance, and operated large depot facilities. Along with that, I also owned a large drayage company with 400 trucks and nine locations across the U.S. So I really can talk drayage and what we're talking about here today. You said that you could really say that I've really had, my hand in every cookie jar when it comes to this industry, and I've gained valuable insights from each experience. So I originally started my career out in intermodal operations. Back in those days, I thought I was the luckiest guy in the world when we got our first fax machine. Believe it or not, right? Yeah, crazy. Today, today I manage a portfolio of products at WiseTech Global, with DrayMaster being my primary focus. And it's really amazing to think that 12 years ago, the concept for DrayMaster started as an idea I sketched out on the back of a napkin. And
Wow.
yeah, crazy. I still have the napkin, by the way, which is, I should frame it and put on my wall. Anyway, fast forward to today, DrayMaster has really become the single source of truth for drayage rates and collaboration, that drives efficiency and innovation throughout the industry. And as you know, and I mentioned, DrayMaster was acquired by WiseTech Global as a part of the Envase technology acquisition a little over 2 years ago, along with Trinium Technologies, which was acquired in 2018. And this brings together 4 of the leading drayage TMSs in North America under the CargoWise Landside umbrella, along with other complementary products and technologies like DrayMaster, Secure Space, GeoStamp, and many others.
Yes, it covers a wide array of
It
everything that
sure does.
everybody kind of needs. And I like the fun that you started with. You started in the driver's seat. Thank you
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sharing that with us. I thought that was
right.
a great little start to that. So
Yeah.
let's set the scene by talking a little bit about some big industry trends. And we're going to start with improving supply chain management. It's it's obviously a big priority and progress is being made. So can you talk to us about the growing collaboration you're seeing, the improving integration, interoperability between stakeholders, and how a shared access to pricing is really helping to drive some of that improvement?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're starting off with a heavy hitter here, Sarah. A lot of components to that question, but I'm going to do my best to answer all of them for you. So first, a supply chain without collaboration would be fragmented, inefficient, and frankly, unable to meet the demands of modern commerce. So what we've done is we've siloed operations, limited visibility, and our costs would be higher, and freight wouldn't move at the scale that it moves today. There's just no way it would. Collaboration is really the glue that holds the entire supply chain together, and without it, supply chains would struggle to survive, let alone thrive in this environment.
Mhm.
So when we talk about collaboration today, it's growing in exciting ways. We're seeing all the stakeholders, carriers, shippers, and brokers working more closely to streamline their operations. They just have to. This isn't just surface level collaboration either. It's happening at both the operational and commercial levels. For example, companies are partnering directly to remove inefficiencies and create smoother and faster workflows. But collaboration alone isn't enough.
Mm.
It must be backed by integration. When you can reduce the number of platforms and technologies needed to get a shipment from point A to point B, you're not only cutting costs, but you're also saving time and effort. Plus, integration gives real-time visibility into shipments, which is so critical in today's world where speed and accuracy are absolutely everything. And then finally, there's pricing, something that's historically been a huge pain point. Today, we're moving towards 24/7 global access to pricing for every leg of the move. Now, stakeholders can make pricing and movement decisions almost instantly, and it's making door-to-door freight planning much easier and much faster.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up collaboration because I don't know if you saw my little board back here, and I don't even know how to point to it. Collaboration is the future of business, and I've said this for a number of years, and you're right. I mean, I think about our personal lives, and I think about how many platforms we're signed up to
Oh,
for, know, streaming television, and just in our
booking flights.
careers. There's so many logins, and I
Yeah,
think we just want our professional lives to just be a little bit simpler because we just don't want to have to remember all of these passwords. And I was recently at a cybersecurity conference, and they actually said that changing your password every 60 to 90 days, like we're prompted to, is actually not good. They
not
said
enough.
previously that it is good. Now it's not good because you just can't simply remember the passwords. And then what do? Right? You go back
Right.
to something that that's easy to crack and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. So
yeah.
being able to get rid of all of those logins would be amazing and have sort of one platform to do that. Now, the second big trend is visibility and transparency, which you said at the beginning of talking about supply chain management. I've said it before, they're a bit of the buzzwords, but they're buzzwords, I think, for a reason. What do they mean to you? Like, in what areas are they the most impactful? How do you feed into drayage rating and quoting best practices with visibility and transparency?
Yeah, good points. Visibility and transparency really mean everything. And they are buzzwords for a reason. And that is because they're essential for doing business in today's fast-paced world. It's just different now than it was in the past.
Right.
Forwarders are working across multiple time zones, for example. They need instant access to accurate rates, and not just with the fuel and the line haul, but they need all of the rate components included in their
Mhm.
quote. So waiting for hours or worse for days for a rate just doesn't cut it anymore. And for trucking companies, if you're not providing rates electronically, you're likely missing out on opportunities to quote and move freight, which is something that we really don't want if we own a trucking company.
Mm-mm.
So visibility really ensures rates are accessible when they're needed, and transparency builds trust by guaranteeing consistency and accuracy. So together, they are the foundation of today's drayage rating and quoting practices. But let's break it down a little further. Visibility is typically thought of as tracking and tracing a shipment that's already in motion. While that's critical, there's really another layer. The visibility needed during the planning phase of freight movement is necessary when shippers need to know not only what's in transit, but also what's available, like
True.
rates and capacity for an intermodal leg.
Hmm.
They have to be able to make informed decisions. So that's really an important point.
Hmm.
Transparency really takes it to another level, and it does that by offering comprehensive rates that eliminate surprises on the back end. And it's this kind of clarity that helps streamline operations and ensure everybody's on the same page. And finally, with drayage decisions being made on a global level, we're seeing a shift towards door-to-door pricing. It's
Yes.
no longer enough. Yep, it's no longer enough to quote ramp to ramp, port to port, or terminal to terminal.
Hmm.
Shippers need accurate end-to-end costs, and they've got to be able to calculate their landed costs in advance.
Hmm.
And that's the kind of visibility and transparency that's driving the industry forward today.
Listen, when I was in operations at a freight forwarding company, I mean, I don't want to date myself, but it was quite a number of years back. If I had tools like this, I would have been a happy camper. There was so much manual, but I'll tell you, waiting for rates for, and in my day, it was
Oh,
days,
yeah. Yeah.
because you were
Remember,
waiting for overseas to get back to you. And if they forgot something or needed to add something, it would take that much longer. And, you'd have to remember that you were waiting on those rates and have to quote. There
right.
was so much management of like time management and remembering some of the tasks that you were doing and needed to get back to which customers for which rates and which ones needed door to door and which ones used their own trucking company for that door delivery. There was so much to manage back in the day, and we managed it all manually. So I totally understand that because we lost a lot of business by having to wait for rates to come in from overseas.
Right. Right. People just don't want to wait any longer. They're just, it's instant gratification today.
Yeah, well, we're all used to it in
Yeah.
both sides of
Yeah.
our lives, right? Personally,
Right.
professionally, you name
Yeah.
it. We want things fast and we want them accurate. And if we don't get either or we just get one over the other, the trust drops. And that's what you were talking about with the transparency, right? The transparency
Absolutely.
really builds out that trust. And if we're going to partner, if we're going to collaborate, the trust is really important. And it's kind of that glue that's going to bring everybody together and keep moving forward because even though you establish trust from a foundational level, you still have to reiterate that trust throughout the movement of that partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about that third and final trend. And that's with shipping logistics and supply chain management. What is happening with automation to reduce some of that manual effort? Maybe break down some of those data silos that we've built and
Yeah.
ensure
Yeah.
that accuracy that we were just talking about across that data from quote to invoice. Talk to me a little bit about that trend.
Yeah, so that's where where the rubber really hits the road, and in this business, that's always a good term. But automation has really moved from being a nice to have to an absolutely necessary item in the transportation industry. And if you don't have it and you don't get it, you're going to be behind the game. And for drayage companies, reducing the manual effort tied to shipment execution has become critical over the last few years. Think about the repetitive tasks: order entry, shipment tracking, scheduling appointments, generating quotes. Automation has to step up to the plate to handle these and free up time for the teams that we have to focus on more strategic work, like talking to customers or, helping a driver set, with the problem that they have or whatever that may be. But it's not just about saving time. It's also breaking down data silos, as you mentioned. Automation helps limit the number of places where data is stored and retrieved, and it normalizes data between the systems that validates it as it moves across the platforms and eliminates conflicting information. Mm-hmm. And it's this kind of consistency that ensures that everyone, whether you're working in operations, billing, or sales, are all on the same page, working off the same accurate data. And accuracy is the name of the game, right? From the initial quote to the final invoice, automation really ensures the information is consistent and it's complete. And that means no surprises when it comes to billing. And in this business, people hate surprises when they get their bill. And don't we all? Mm-hmm. So ultimately, in the end, it's all about efficiency. It's about transformation. And automation is changing the way businesses operate, enabling them to run leaner and more efficiently with the precision that's now needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Nobody likes surprises in their billing. I mean, it's kind of been like that for years. And now that we've got all the tools, it's kind of like, why is this happening? If it's happening, why is this happening? It shouldn't be happening in 2024, 2025, right?
Right.
And I have to give you kudos because you're coming out with these puns. Keep them coming because I'm loving them, Tom. I'm really loving them in this conversation.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned collaboration, you've mentioned visibility, you've mentioned automation. It all sounds fantastic and really kind of filled with potential, right? But we've only had time to sort of scratch the surface. It's not quite as easy as we've made it sound. So what challenges do you think that these three core trends that we've talked about really present to drayage operators?
Yeah, so let's start with rising customer expectations. And we've already mentioned those briefly as we've been chatting here. But customers expect real-time visibility, accurate rates, and consistency across the board. And if you're waiting too long for a quote or seeing surprises on an invoice that you receive after the fact, it creates frustration, and that will quickly end a business relationship faster than anybody can realize. Then there's challenges of tight margins and slow payments. It's common for operators to deal with the invoice discrepancies that delay payments or make it hard to recoup all the charges. And that can drag out cash flow and cut into already thin margins. And of course, manual processes are still everywhere, whether it's managing rates, generating quotes, or responding to RFPs. There's way too much time being spent on repetitive tasks, which makes scaling really difficult. And it also leads to errors and contributes to employee burnout. And, in this business, we can't afford to lose good talent as a part of our team. That's never a good thing. Yeah. But I'd say that, it just you just can't replace it quickly.
Well, and a lot of those things that you were just saying also, that's money. It's money on the table. If, if an employee is burnt out, if you're doing repetitive tasks, all of that is money on the table. It might not necessarily be tangible that we can see in that particular moment, but it means money on the table presently and then also into the future. Sorry, keep going.
Right. Yeah. So the last but not least, the biggest challenge is really managing change. And in this industry, most every company that I know of operates with a very lean staff, which makes it really hard to shift. So this is where leadership has to play a crucial role. Owners and senior managers need to embrace change and actively push it through their organizations to take advantage of trends like collaboration, visibility, and automation, while still staying competitive in today's market. I can still remember back to 2012 and introducing the concept of DrayMaster to a lot of the drayage operators. We went first after the drayage operators, and then next to the freight forwarders. But the biggest pushback I had was, I'm not going to, quote, I'm not going to put my rates on any electronic platform. And that was it, right? The foot was down and they weren't going to do it. But instead, what they were doing was sharing an Excel spreadsheet that people were sharing and sharing and resharing again. And actually their rates were less secure then than they are today. So it's great to have a platform like DrayMaster where it all comes together finally.
What a cybersecurity disaster.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I'll share with you my Excel spreadsheet, but don't share it with anybody. Meanwhile, it
Right.
goes out to 10
Yeah.
other people
Yeah.
and you
It
just don't know about it.
just happens to have my whole business on it in one little easy to use and easy to share deal. Yeah.
Just kind of like the napkin that you're going to be framing. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I love that. It's so intuitive though of how we as humans sort of think and like to manage through different challenges, but
Yeah.
also how we're blind to some of the ways of doing things when they could be more secure, they could be better and actually better for the business. Now, one of the things that you said was around change management, and there was a article that I read just a couple of months ago, I believe, that said that digitalization is only 20% technology. It's actually 80% change management.
Yes.
And so if we talk about the industry, supply chain professionals, leaders adopting new technology and adopting digitalization, the foundational piece is that 80% of the change management is that you do have to make it so that everybody can get on board with it, right? And
Right.
we're
Right.
thinking that Excel is the way to go. It's really just a matter of changing that mindset in a way to say, you're doing it like this right now. This is what digitalization or technology could help you do and allow you to do more of X, which is
Right.
whatever it is that they're passionate about and they want to make an impact on or something like that. So it's interesting that you said that because I read that a little while ago and I wanted to just mention that because, you know, I wonder how drayage operators manage through some of these trends and challenges, right? They have to accept that digitalization is no longer a nice to have. It's kind of something that we need to have. It's going to happen. But again, we have to focus on that change management. Talk to me about how they're managing through that right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that DrayMaster would have scaled a lot quicker and a lot faster if we had just had people being able to break that barrier of
Mhm.
I'm not sharing my rates digitally. So in today's world, it's no longer an option. If they're not embracing it and jumping on,
Mhm.
even the smaller drayage operators that have under five trucks in their fleet, they need to recognize that embracing digital tools is going to be essential for staying competitive. I
Mhm.
think that the key is to start out small, and implement the basic tools like automated rate quoting and shipment tracking, and then scale up over time with all of the other opportunities to really embrace digitalization. So, in the end, I think that it's really about keeping up with your competitors, and it's
Mhm.
about ensuring long-term sustainability. It really, in the end, improves efficiency for a drayage operator and really everybody involved in the supply chain because it reduces errors and provides the real-time visibility that ultimately leads to better customer experiences and cost savings. So I think that operators who resist change are going to find themselves burdened with outdated processes that are and which is going to cause them to miss out on opportunities for collaboration, and they're going to struggle to meet the demands of today's global supply chain. It's just inevitable. So the sooner they start embracing these changes, the better position they're going to be.
Well, and their competitors are going to have all the energy. to move past
Absolutely.
them because they're not going to be burnt out because they've got all of these efficiency tools, and they don't have to do as much manually and as much manual thinking and work and all of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
So I think we mentioned best practices earlier on in this discussion. I want to bring us back to that because I think there's a couple of steps that you kind of talk about and see in rate and quote management best practices, how it brings together collaboration, transparency, automation that we've talked about so far. Can you take us through those three steps and why they're so important?
Yeah, I can. So rate and quote best practices are really necessary because they create efficiency, they provide accuracy, and they, instill trust between the people that are trading rates and information. And this is how I believe you can elevate your approach is by thinking in the terms of good, better, best. So starting out with good, standardize and centralize your data. Use a single source of truth for all your rate and quote information, whether in a spreadsheet or within your TMS. Document every cost element of a drayage move and establish a clear framework for your rates.
Mm,
And then centralizing and standardizing your rates digitally ensures consistency while limiting freelancing or ad hoc negotiations by anybody on your staff and keeps everybody quoting consistently.
mm.
So standard operating procedures for quoting and responding to RFPs are going to further help maintain control and accuracy over rates and customer relationships. But going digital is the next step, is really the next step while getting better at rate and quote management. Guided workflows make it easy to build and customize tariffs by lane, by region, or by customer, complete with the validation that is going to prevent errors. Having to know what the chassis positioning rate is for the BNSF in Logistics Park in Chicago, or whether it's one of the other rails, that shouldn't be something that somebody should have to remember. So
Yeah,
yeah, so automating those repetitive tasks, such as the fuel surcharge and all of the additional fees that this business has, they
I
save
remember
time.
that. I
Yeah,
remember that. I don't mean to interrupt, but I
yeah,
remember that. And I
right.
remember,
Yeah,
quoting a client and I was like, EBF or BAF or IBS or like all of
right,
these
right.
terms
Yeah,
and all of these things. And, it stops on June 15th, but this invoice is June 18th. Oh, okay. I don't need that one, but I need this one and replace it with that
right.
one. And
Yeah,
then also, how do you transfer that knowledge from one person's head to another? Like, that's
right.
the other challenge with all of this, too. But, anyways, keep going.
Yeah, as we know, people go on vacation, they get sick, they have days off, and
Mhm,
to have that single source of truth for your rates be in that one person's hands
mhm,
makes it tough when they're not there. So I guess the final step, Sarah, is really accessibility.
mhm.
And but trucking companies, people have to have their rates online now. It's just not a choice any longer. And customers don't want 24/7 access, they demand it. So giving access to your rates builds trust and can even bring in new business. And that's really the end goal of what we're looking for here. Um, so when we talk about taking a good, better, best approach, it really allows us to evolve towards a desired state in bite-sized and baby step increments that we can handle, absorb, and take on.
Yes, bite size. That's what everybody wants. We don't
Yeah,
want this like
absolutely.
overwhelming, you need to do this. Then everybody kind of checks out at that point. So you're right with the
Right.
baby steps, the bite sized pieces. That's what everybody's looking for. So let me ask
Yeah.
you this then. Where does DrayMaster fit in? Like how can you help from a trucker's perspective? And do you have any stats that you can kind of share and maybe illustrate that for us?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I'm kind of passionate about DrayMaster, but it really has changed the world, the drayage and freight forwarding world for drayage rates, and for that I'm just really excited. It makes me smile. But from a trucker's perspective, DrayMaster puts digitizing rate and quote management within the reach of everybody. So following the good, better, best approach to continuously improve rating and quoting processes, everybody will benefit by streamlining tariff creation and rate sharing that makes it easier to manage and publish rates and also make them available. So eliminating all those manual processes that allow more time and focus on operations while increasing visibility of your company, ensuring that rates are being seen by the right people at the right time and on their schedule is just where it is today. So with DrayMaster, you asked me for some stats, and I've got
Yeah.
some really great ones to share with you. Quote turnaround times can drop by up to 95% using
What?
DrayMaster. 95%. They're online, they're available, they can get a quote, they can print a quote, they can send themselves a quote, they can talk to the trucking company about the quote. So they've got everything at their fingertips. So the other 5% is just the time that it takes to throw in origin, destination, as well as some other basic information about the shipment to get back the rate. So it's just a huge improvement.
That's a big number. 95% is a huge number. And I
It
love that.
is.
Thank you for sharing that. Now, we just talked about from a trucker's perspective, what about 3PLs? Do you have, this is kind of my favorite part of the discussion. Do you have a case study maybe that you can bring to life and discuss some of the benefits and ROI that that client saw from working with you?
We do, and the case study that we did after bringing one of the one of the 10th largest freight forwarders into the platform was really staggering, but it really just reinforced what we were doing. So for DrayMaster and freight forwarders, what we do is allow them to manage their drayage partners in one place, and we eliminate the need for them to juggle multiple spreadsheets, emails,
Mm.
and get phone calls back, kind of like you were mentioning earlier,
Yeah,
Sarah, where
the old
your
days.
inbox was just full of stuff that just had to be put together and pieced together and made it really tough. So with 24/7 access to your drayage network rates, forwarders now gain a comprehensive view of all of those costs that we've been talking about and all the accessorials, with no back and forth emails and no phone calls. So that's probably the biggest advantage. But the platform really consolidates quotes from all of your drayage partners in a standardized format so that you're looking at everything in a consistent manner. And you're also seeing all of the known accessorials like fuel surcharge, chassis positioning, chassis rental, hazardous charges, overweight charges, and other fees that come into play that are really tough to manage, as we mentioned before. But this transparency is really what empowers you to make quick, accurate comparisons and decisions and provide a good quote to your customer. And that's what they're looking for, something that they can depend on. So talked about our case study. So we do have a great case study, and the results were nothing short of remarkable, as I mentioned, after comparing the before DrayMaster implementation to the after DrayMaster implementation. So shipments booked and managed through DrayMaster with this company averaged a 4% lower rate overall,
Huh.
resulting in an annual savings of over $1.5 million in cost savings, which was
Wow.
just huge. And in this business, as we know, a margin increase like this is strong and ultimately can flow right to the bottom line. And that's really what everybody is looking for. But even more importantly, invoice discrepancy and invoice rework was cut in half in the first 6 months, and then just kept getting better and better and better over time. We haven't checked back in, but that's something that we should probably do to see just what that number is today. But it really put an end to a lot of the invoice discrepancies and all of the time, money, and rework that was needed to get that done.
Yeah, you're going to have to come back after you check in with them and tell us
Yeah.
all about it. But I mean, 50% is huge, right? Because If people are checking your invoices and they're constantly wrong, that trust goes out the window. But if they are
It does.
constantly accurate and right, that's how you're going to build up that trust. But also, that bottom line of 4%, that's huge, especially in a tight market that we have at the moment. And we're going to continue to see,
Right.
I think, for a little while. So I really appreciate you sharing that case study because
And
it just really goes to show how people are benefiting and what it can do for somebody's organization.
And Sarah, the biggest reason that those companies realized why they realized the 4% was because they were making decisions on all of the rate components and not just the line haul and the fuel surcharge like
Right.
this business was traditionally. That's how we always provided rates in the past. But
Yeah.
there's all those other pieces, and they can be hundreds of dollars
Mhm.
in the end.
Yeah, they absolutely can. Now, finally, I can't believe we're at the end of this discussion. Do you
Yeah,
want to just sort of give us a summary of what we've talked about today? Maybe something that
yeah.
the audience can walk away thinking about or taking action on.
Yeah, so biggest point that I can make is that DrayMaster really bridges the gap between truckers, 3PLs, freight forwarders, brokers, whoever it may be, in a single collaborative ecosystem. And for drayage operators, it really simplifies rate management, increasing opportunities. And for brokers, it streamlines quoting, enhances accuracy, and really improves customer satisfaction as well as building stronger drayage partner relationships. So by embracing collaboration, visibility and automation are buzzwords that we've been talking about over and over in a good, better, and best methodology. DrayMaster aligns with drayage rating and quoting best practices and really sets the standard for that. It's not only the standard, but it really strengthens the supply chain and enables smoother execution throughout the entire process. So
Yeah.
when truckers and 3PLs work together seamlessly, the ripple effect benefits everybody involved. So
Yeah, and the impact is
yeah,
shown across all levels. So, the North
right.
American intermodal drayage industry is intensely complex and highly fragmented. In the US
Yeah,
alone, over 500,000 truck drivers and 12,000 trucking companies handle about 100 million container moves each year. And that's
staggering.
transporting goods. I know it's huge goods between ports, railways, and distribution centers. So, CargoWise Landside's goal is to tackle these complex issues comprehensively and at scale, improving container movement efficiency between terminals, owners, exporters, and their team of more than 3,000 people across 35 countries is changing the world of logistics, one innovation at a time. Now, did you have a guess at today's big question? Well, at the top of the show, I asked you what percentage of respondents to a global CargoWise survey expressed a desire to streamline operations across regions through integration and standardization of their technology stack in a unified system? Well, it was 48%, so just under half. And honestly, that's a little bit lower than I would have guessed. So there's clearly
Yeah, me
still a lot
too.
of work to be done across the industry, right? Yeah, I thought it would be a
Right.
little bit higher than that, but it
Yeah.
gives us a bit of a benchmark to work from. Now, if you want to find out more, check them out at cargowise.com/landside. And if you want to hear more from us and more from CargoWise, because they've been on the show many times, check them out at letstalksupplychain.com. So a massive thanks to the team of CargoWise for making this episode happen. And Tom, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. It was great to be on your show here. Many pleasures. Thank you.